So, clean air and low emission zones have already arrived in major cities worldwide, and it's come here to Palma now, the capital of Mallorca. So in this video we're going to take a behind the scenes look at what it's going to be like living here in Palma. We're also going to see how these low emission zones are going to affect you if you're coming over here on holiday and you're hoping to either drive or rent a car. Now, I'm down here on the far side of Palma. I'm actually in the Mallorca area today. I'm just taking a walk along the seafront, so I'm going to bring you some absolutely stunning views from this side of the island. Well, I talk to you all about this new low emissions area which we now have in place in the centre of Palma. Now, normally my videos are based around holiday information, giving you the very best holiday news, travel guides and all the information you need if you're coming over here. So consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And over these much quieter winter months as well, I'm going to try and bring out some regular living in Mallorca content. So subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell too, to really get a behind the scenes look of the reality of what it's like living here. And it's not all sunshine, sangria and flip-flops living over here in Mallorca, because, well, living just about anywhere in the world has its own challenges, and my goodness, we do have quite a few challenges living here too. So anyway, while it is great news that Palma is going green, I never thought I'd be making a video about having to actually in the future, in the very near future, having to get myself an electric vehicle, and the whole rise of the electric vehicle movement which has taken over many places in the world too. But it's something that's going to be a reality here if I'm going to want to drive into Palma in the future. So this low emissions zone is going to be located in the Casco Antiguo area of Palma. It's a very busy touristy area. It lies within avenidas. I'm just going to show you here on Google Maps, but it could be set to extend going into 2026. It could also extend to other areas of the island too. And if you've been watching my winter content from over here in Mallorca, you're actually going to wonder if there's anyone living here on the island, because, well, the island here is very quiet at the moment, but these low emission zones are going ahead. Now, this is all very well and good because, well, sustainability is at the heart of the Tourist Board's mission statement for this year, but there is just maybe a little bit of hypocrisy going on here. And what am I talking about? Well, right behind me here, just a couple of kilometres away, lies Palma Airport. It's actually exactly 4 kilometres away from the low emission zone in Palma. Equally, on the other side of Palma too, another 4 kilometres away from the low emission zone, is Palma Port, which is, of course, welcomes in literally hundreds of cruise ships every single summer too. So my guess is that while this low emissions area may well encompass a lot more of the city, it's never obviously going to encompass the airport here or Palma Port either on the far side of the city. And I'm pretty much guessing as well that the emissions that my 11-year-old Ford Fiesta pumps out is absolutely nothing in comparison to the vast amounts of emissions that are pumped out by the aeroplanes and also by the cruise ships either. But it's going to also make our lives a little bit harder over here in the city as well, which well, anyway, we're going to get onto this about what this whole low emissions area means for us living here. But first, I just want to give you a few facts as well about the type of emissions that are coming out from Palma Port and also at the airport as well, because according to the publication Cadena Ser, they say that 500 cruise ships docked in 2024 over at Palma Port, with similar numbers expected in 2025. And according to website Green Match, a medium-sized cruise ship emits greenhouse gases which are the equivalent of around 12,000 cars. Now, moving on to the airport. So in 2024, the airport carried around 33 million passengers, and that was 7% more than in 2023. 2025, I bet we're going to have an increase in passengers and in flights too, taking off and landing over at Palma. And also, according to the BBC website, around 2.4% of global CO2 emissions come from aviation. Together with other gases and the water vapour trails produced by aircraft, the industry is responsible for around 5% of global warming. Now, in the summer months, we can literally count the planes coming in. They land every 3 minutes. I just watch them coming over the Bay of Palma from my flat. So basically, in a nutshell, living over here in Mallorca, if I want to drive a car into the centre of Palma as we head towards 2030, I've got two options. One is to take public transport, and we're going to get onto that in just a moment. The other is to basically get rid of that 11-year-old Ford Fiesta, which runs perfectly well, and I need to get myself an electric car. Now, this is obviously going to be very cost prohibitive for the majority of people living here. I've mentioned it in previous videos. The minimum wage here is around €1,200 per month, 12 to 1,500 euros per month. The average cost of a second-hand electric car is around 20,000 euros. To buy them new, I'm sure you can get them for around 30,000 euros. But you can see that moving on into 2030, that very few people, apart from the much more wealthy, will be able to own an electric vehicle. And also, it does make you wonder what's going to happen to all those unwanted cars as well. Is there going to be a giant car graveyard somewhere on the island? I don't know. Who knows? So what's the alternative? Well, it seems like we're all going to be driven onto public transport. And well, you're going to know that we do have problems with public transport. If you've seen my island updates from last year, you'll know that, well, the buses get extremely busy in the summer. And we're not just talking about the buses being a little bit busy either. We're talking about many of the buses running complete, and that means full, and it means that they're not going to stop to pick up passengers, particularly in high season. But we're noticing now, as the years are going on and with more people visiting the islands, the buses are filling up even more quickly at all times of day. There's not appearing to be one time of day that's going to be better than any other as we move on into the summer to get a bus, because all the bus stops, for this past summer at least, during 2024, they've been very busy, and they're even looking very busy now. Now, it was reported in the local press that the government wishes to increase the number of buses running over here, particularly in Palma. Is this going to happen? I don't know, and we're going to see what happens as we move on into the future. But on the basis that many of the resorts depend on, obviously, service staff coming into the resorts, working in the hotels, working in the bars and the restaurants, and these workers not being able to afford to live in the resorts now and living in other cheaper areas of the islands, they're going to be almost entirely dependent on public transport to get to where they're going. So there's going to be a much bigger strain on public transport here for people, whether they're going to go into the city to work or they're trying to get to other areas of the island. And this is going to be particularly important during the summer season, which this year I think is going to start in about April and run through onto the end of October. Now, what is even crazier than all of this, and this once again is just my opinion and my perspective, that the waterfront area of Palma, the Paseo Maritimo, which runs from the old town right the way through the city down towards Palma Port, has gone through a multi-million euro expansion and redevelopment. And you may well have seen my video all about this last year. They decided to do this redevelopment all at once, and well, Palma waterfront's been looking like a mess now for the past year and a bit. Hopefully it's going to be finished during 2025, but nowhere in this whole refurbishment plan did they kind of accommodate maybe some kind of like tram service or a metro service or anything that will probably speed up carrying people throughout the city. So just looking at their website here, the now Passage Maritime website, they say that they are aware of the global climate crisis that affects our planet. It is imperative to change towards a new promenade that is part of the sustainability model for Palma. People win. Not those trying to get into the city, I suspect, in a few years to come. But anyway, they say people win. Our environment wins with a significant reduction in CO2 emissions and the planting of 1,820 trees. The new design of the promenade includes the creation of shaded spaces in summer, sunny spaces in winter, and this prevents the continuous absorption of solar radiation from translating into even higher temperatures, especially in times of high heat. In addition, a sustainable drainage system will be implemented and will allow polluting elements to be filtered and rainwater reuse. The lights installed will be LED. They'll also be controlled with a system that will guarantee efficient use, and there'll be various, and this is important, there'll be various charging points for electric vehicles. Okay, so as a resident, and if you're thinking of moving to the island and you're living in the city centre, what does this mean for you? Well, if you want to take your car into Palma, you now have to get an emission sticker, which I've just done because I do travel into Palma every now and again, and I don't always have time to take the bus because it does take considerably longer to wait for a bus, get into the Palma, and then get back on the bus and then walk home as well. So this is why I've got my emissions sticker. But it's not going to be available to everybody for this year because petrol cars registered before 2001 and diesel cars before 2006 won't be able to get a sticker, and it will mean that these cars will now be banned from this low emission zone in Palma. These stickers are also going to indicate a gradual phasing out of diesel and petrol cars as we run towards 2030. So my Ford Fiesta has an emissions sticker which is a level or a letter C. It falls into the C category. As of 2027, only cars that carry a B, or I think it's the eco or zero emission stickers that will be allowed to circulate, and that's running up to 2030. So by 2027 I'm going to have to get myself a new car if I want to be able to drive into Palma. They've already installed around 19 registration cameras as well in and around the city to catch you out. So how does this affect you if you're going to hire a car or if you're going to drive over to the island? Well, I've heard, and it has been reported, that this doesn't affect anyone staying in a hotel. So I guess if you're hiring a car, you're going to be okay with taking your car into Palma, quite possibly. But also, are the hire cars now that we're going to be getting in en masse on the islands, are they going to be all electric? So what's going to happen if you take your hire car into the centre of the city? Are you going to face any kind of fine? Well, that's something else that we need to find out. So far this year, no fines are going to be imposed. It's just the time of year where you have to actually get the stickers in, and they're saying maybe it's the first 6 months of the year where you won't get fines, maybe the second half of the year you will get fines, but with the goalposts constantly changing, I thought I'd just get the sticker, and I want to make you guys aware of this too, because you may want to avoid driving into the centre of Palma when you're over here on holiday. Also, as well, if you are hiring an electric car, if you're coming over here to the island, what's the charging network like here? Now, I've heard it's pretty bad, but in the future, I'm going to go and get out and I'm going to go and check out the charging network over here in Mallorca. I'm going to see how practical it is for what's going to be a huge increase of electric vehicle ownership. I'm probably going to have to be one of those new owners as well of an electric car, and I'll be absolutely gutted because, well, my car has run pretty much almost problem-free, apart from a few failed batteries over the years, and it seems like almost a complete waste to have to get rid of a perfectly functioning car to then spend an enormous amount of money on an electric vehicle when, like I said, I'm sandwiched in between the port and the airport, which are probably one of the biggest causes of CO2 emissions over here on the islands. But it does seem to be like either holidaymakers or residents are actually being punished for this, and well, we'll have to fall into line with the new rules or we're going to end up facing considerably high fines, I'm guessing. So let me know what your thoughts are all about this in comments below. Has it worked out well in the city that you're living in around the world? What do you think about it coming over here to Mallorca? Can other low emission zones be justified in other areas of the island? As I said, it's winter here, it's extremely quiet. The island isn't busy at all. In the summer it's a different story. Should these low emission zones just be seasonal? I don't know. I don't know what the answer or what the solution is, but don't forget, as I said, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm going to be bringing out more content all about this as we go on into the future. I'm going to see what it means to you if you're coming here on holiday. I'm going to show you what it means to me living here on the islands, and I'm hoping for a good year on YouTube, because let's face it, I think I'm going to have to save it for that electric vehicle or face big queues at the bus stop. Okay everyone, thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see what's been recently in the news about living here in Mallorca, then check out this video appearing here on YouTube. Don't forget, you can find me on the Facebook group and on my Instagram, also called Mallorca Under the Sun, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Goodbye for now.